Hey guys, welcome to my annual full tour of my plant room, which if you're new to this channel, this is where I grow like 95% of the plants in this house. I do a few walkthroughs throughout the year where I just show a few like highlights here and there and lowlights of course, but the full tour where you actually see every single plant, even though I don't necessarily talk about every plant, I like to do this once a year just so there's a lot of time in between and I can look back and just see how much this room changes year on year, because it's really hard to notice the changes week on week, month on month. And I like the idea of being able to look back on these videos year after year and just see how much has transformed. And this year in particular, like this wall behind me is completely transformed. But if you're new to the channel, hello, I mainly grow anthurium. Basically every plant you're gonna see today is an anthurium. And also because this is YouTube and I feel like there's some expectation of greatness on this platform, I just want to forewarn you that you will see lots of crisping leaves, some plants in active decline. Of course, there's like some nice healthy plants, but as this year has been quite busy for me, I've been finding it difficult to kind of parcel out the time. The time that I'd like to do active plant care, repotting, trimming back, and diagnosing issues, which is why I've been actively downsizing little bit by bit throughout the whole year. It's an active goal of mine to keep doing it and every now and then reassess the size of my collection to make sure it aligns with my ability to take care of said collection. It's all a work in progress, and as usual, I did not do any sort of like staging, restyling, like prepping the plants to be shown on camera. This is just how it is. And then after the tour is done, I'm gonna share some of my thoughts on plant collecting and the hobby in general, that I think I'm just trying to change my way of how I think about it. So I'm gonna leave at the very end because I know not everyone's gonna care. You're mostly here for the plants. So as usual, I think I usually start on that side of the room. By the way, if you're new to this channel, this is a very small little flex room, kind of like a den sized room, where I have my makeup table on one side and then all my plants on this kind of L-shaped side. So we're going to start over on that side and kind of work our way along this wall, and then we're going to end over here. Okay, starting with the corner that nobody sees because it's really ugly. And it's just kind of props that it's not super exciting, at least not right now. It just becomes exciting when it's ready to be sold. But these are basically all plants that I'm propping to be sold. Some of them are just one-offs, like that I'm keeping. I don't know what happened, but I suddenly found myself with a huge stock of plant pots. So this has become the overflow plant pot storage, which is okay because there's no lighting here. This is really not a good place to grow plants, but my Politoflorum, my original one, is here. This is the one I snapped twice, both on camera, and in this spot, it's actually grown quite a big leaf. Just backing up so you can see the full length of it. It's grown backwards to face the shelf rather than face the window. So here's the front of it. I was very pleasantly surprised at how big this leaf got. It's still it's basically done expanding. It's a little bit floppy though. This is a pretty new leaf. It's been flowering. This is not where I ideally want to grow it, but I don't have a good spot for it. So it's here now. At least it's relatively happy. Dome number 1, there's some FDG crystal cells. Let me lift the lid here. There's 3 FDG crystal cells. These are kind of separate growth points from my original stump that I got from IAS. So they're all from the same plant. This is one of them. I've already sold one. I'm gonna keep one and sell 2 of these relatively soon. Here's another one. You're gonna see this cross a lot in this video. This one is Carla by Carla Bvep. These plants are kind of dotted all throughout the room. This is a plant from my friend Dania. This is a Dock Block Magnificum crossed with an Ace of Spades green form. Back here, if I can maneuver the camera, at the very back there, that little teardrop plant, that is a Tofu Getii. So tofu is a Indonesian no ID that is owned by my friend Jing, and that plant is a total runt, but I've been keeping it because I don't know, the shape of the leaves are pretty interesting. Down here, some plants that need to be graduated out of here, but some are for sale. Actually, maybe it's easier if I just bring this dome out because it's pretty crowded in there. Okay, starting from the left side, another Carla Bvep. This one is one of the smaller ones. It's got an interesting shape and venation, but quite small. But there's 2 plants in this pot. I did this with some of the smallest seedlings in the batch, just potted them together because I didn't want to waste an individual pot for them. And I wasn't sure that they were going to grow into anything, but this one is slower, as in it's much smaller than other things in this batch, but it's growing and it's sizing up, so at least it's doing something. This is a plant I really need to repot. Look at this pot. This is from my friend Matt or Cataphil on Instagram. So this one is a blue pap by Round Bevep. You can see that it really took after the blue pap in terms of the shape, but it's been so strangled in this tiny pot that I think it needs to just express itself in a larger pot. So it's on my repot list. This is a prop of Queen of Hearts with a dead mushroom. I took 2 cuttings of my Queen of Hearts earlier this year with the hopes of sending one to a friend. I wasn't sure how well this plant would propagate, so I just cut 2. Whatever activated first, I would send to him. I already sent one to him that activated quickly, and this one might be either dead or doesn't have a viable node. It might actually be dead. This is a plant that needs serious TLC. This one's a Bigfoot by Goliath. Yeah, it's low on my priority list, but I'll get to it one day. Here's another communal pot of Carla Bevep. I think there's 2 or 3 plants in this pot. This one is a Dock Block Brielle. So I had gotten a cutting from Charmaine's Brielle and it sprouted 2 growth points. I sold one of the props and this is the one I'm keeping. It seems pretty happy in this dome, even though it gets quite a lot of light, but it's not really burning, surprisingly, but it's not really dark either. So I think it's ready to, it's ready to go into a 4-inch pot. And after that, I can find a darker place for it. But you'll see soon that it's not a priority because the rest of my plant room is really full, so there's not a lot of shelf space anywhere. So this is also a low priority. It seems relatively happy. This is another plant from Matt. This is Carla by Fortune Ralph Lynam. This is an F2, so he had 2 Carla by Fortune Ralph Lynam from the same batch and he bred those 2 together, so it's 2nd generation. This one also really needs a repot. It stopped sizing up for me, but his parent plants are absolutely stunning. I think he's been selling some of these on AA, so some of you might have seen it. Here are 2 props of Dark Phoenix by Ralph Lynam Fort Sherman. So from the same plant, here's one cutting. This one, look at that. Such a pretty plant, and this one's sized up so well. The mother plant I still have. I was going to sell maybe all of them. My idea was to sell the top cutting and keep one of the babies. Like I could sell this one and the top cutting and maybe keep the smallest one just for space saving reasons. It will be for sale soon. Me and Jing and Charmaine are planning our next plant sale. And then in these bins, more props. This is all stumps. So they went in here as leafless stumps. We've got some leaves. There's a Dark Phoenix clone there that's going to be for sale once that new leaf expands. This crispy leaf happened when I repotted it, so I just had it out of the 100% humidity dome for too long. When I plan on selling it, I'm going to be moving it out of here and just kind of increase the airflow a little bit and just drop the humidity slightly so it can get acclimated to lower humidity, so it'll just do better in shipping. But basically all these stumps in here are activated. Some have new leaves, some don't, but they're all going to be for sale. None of them are mine. And then in here there's 2 Brielle by Crystal Blacks. This is the hybrid I did with Charmaine last year. So this is a bigger one. There's a smaller one over here. I keep underwatering this because this bin keeps drying out and I keep forgetting to water. Now this is a Dark Phoenix Self by Jing. This is a really dried out Dark Phoenix by Pap RA5 Cells. This is the hybrid I did with Jing as well. And this is a prop of a Pap Port, which I think is dead. In here, more Carla Beveps. So these are the smallest ones, and there were a few that got a lot bigger and it got super scrunched up in here because it got very crowded. So I just, a few days ago, I took those out and repotted them up a little bit. These are just the smaller ones that I'm waiting to repot once I have space in the other bins. In here, there's just a few other one-off plants. This SP Silver, I think it's dead. There's this, the strappy one at the back is called SP Strappy Velvety, I think. Pao and Josh sent this to me and Charmaine a couple years ago. I'm going to be cleaning up this bin soon. And then here is a few of Indomeg by Megcurse Carla. These are just some random little seedlings I made last year sometime, I think. Wait, was it this year? I forget, but these are just the few I have left. I've sold most of them. I might just give these away to friends, honestly, because I don't have the space to grow these out. By the way, this shelf is all lit by Brina T5s, and there's 1 per shelf. And then moving on, we have my grow tent, which is my favorite place to grow plants in this whole room. It's not a beautiful place to grow plants, but The plants just love it in here. So I get a lot of questions about the size of this tent because in some videos, I think it looks bigger than it actually is. It's quite small. I mean, I couldn't fit in there, so it doesn't hold a human being. But this is 4 feet wide, 5 feet tall, and 3 feet deep. So 4 by 5 by 3. I got this tent like 4 years ago because I was going away for like 3 weeks and I wanted a place for my plants to grow and my boyfriend to not have to take care of them so much. But this it turned out to be one of my best investments. And at that time, it was only $75. This is the brand Tollies, and it does not exist on Amazon anymore. I've looked, people have asked me, but it has the reflective walls and it's all lit by Barina as well. So there's one up here, there's 7 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then on the bars, I have one vertically facing in, and then on this one, another one vertically facing in. The idea of the ones facing in is to make leaves face forward. And so most of the lights are as close to the front of the shelf as I can get. And then I also rely on the reflective front door to make leaves face forward. I would say this configuration generally works pretty well in making sure that the leaves aren't pointing upwards and just looks kind of nicer to face the tent. I also don't run any fans in here. I just leave these kind of ventilation things slightly ajar and then I open the door once every maybe 2-3 days on average to air things out. And then every week when I film, this tent is open the whole time while I'm filming, so however many hours that takes. So I think we'll go top to bottom. This one is an NSE Wenlingeri from my friend Owen. I do need to uppot it because this is the newest leaf, so it's really starting to size up now. It's getting really long, but this is the only size I can grow in this little pocket. But then again, the lighting situation makes it grow a little bit crazy. So it is on my to-do list. This is a pap port that I have neglected a little bit, but it's just put out this leaf. Looks like it's going to be a size up, but I'll probably trim back some of these crispy leaves. Here are 2 Carla B Veps. So this one is from Woohoo. It is flowering. It has been flowering for a while, but it doesn't look like it's working on a new leaf. And then this one is my original Carla B Vep. So this one is GPH by Round. It's just popped this leaf and this looks like it's going to be a pretty big one. Like usually the emergent leaves aren't this big. So I'm looking forward to that because these 2 leaves are not looking as best. I did do like a big flat mite treatment maybe like a month and a half ago. I just took everything out of the tent, sprayed them front and back, wiped them down, dabbed the petioles, things like that. This is the pollen parent to the Carla B Vep, so you're going to see all throughout the video, like this plant, Carla B Vep. This one is much more B Vep heavy, and it has that like B Vep bunghole. This one is a lot more bullied, really dark. It's one of my keepers. And then over here, another Carla B Vep, much more Carla heavy. I love the very vertical venation. It's really elongated, like every leaf is super elongated. I showed this fairly recently. This one was a plant that was for sale, didn't sell last time, but I'm gonna try it again. Our next restock, this one is Pap B Vep. I figured I have enough plants that look like that, and I'm just trying to save space. And then this is one of my favorite plants I've gotten this year. This one is BVEP by DF from NXE Plants. So they bred this plant and unbeknownst to me, they wanted to share with me a specimen and I didn't know it was their favorite specimen of the seed batch. It's the one that's most DF heavy. It's really wavy and it's starting to like kind of curve back a little bit on the leaves as they harden. So the lobes do this like bending back thing. It's just so pretty and I love that kind of blood vessel texture it has. It grows so fast. I just repotted this last week, something like that, into a bigger pot. So it was originally in mixture of kind of like DIY pond-esque plus stratum and a like layer at the bottom. And I tried to keep as much of that substrate in as well into the new pot. And then I added more of my DIY pond. It seems to be okay. It's continued to flower. Trying to see if I see any new roots. Not yet, but it seems to be okay. From its growth rate, I want to say it's going to be a pretty resilient plant, but you never know. I don't want to lose it, but at least Nick and Corbin took a butt cut of this plant before they gave it to me, so at least they have a piece of that. And knowing them, it's going to be way bigger than this one in no time. Over here is Ace of Spades by Eastern Dress. I got this from Pau and Josh. I just repotted it maybe a month ago. I think it was right before I went away. And it hasn't, well, it pushed this leaf, but it didn't form very well. Like it's quite small. It seems prematurely hardened. So I'm gonna have to take a look at what's going on in there. This plant is one of my favorites, but it's going through a little bit of recoveries from producing berries. So this one is Fortune Ralphinum by Dress Carla. So the Fortune Ralphinum is from JV, and then the Dress Carla is from Dylan. And then I believe this cross was made by Yolanda Pickle Sauce. So I have a specimen from this batch, and Charmaine has a specimen from this batch, and we made F2, so we made them kiss, and they made babies again. And those babies, you're gonna see them later. They're really cute. I'm quite excited. Actually, Pow and Josh have some of these. They're gonna be selling. Well, by the time this video goes live, that sale would already be done, but maybe they have some left. And obviously I have quite a few as well, so I'll be selling them with through Jing on planthappens.com in the near future. This plant has a really fun blister variegation, and the lobes are really like small and kind of wide. They get a little bit warped with the blister, but they're not tall. They're kind of widened and just stubby little things and quite an elongated leaf. It also needs a repot, but I would say its general state of not looking great in the yellowing margin is just that it's a little bit tired from making babies. It produced berries on, I think, the third inflow it ever produced, so it's not a super mature plant. All that to say, I don't blame it for declining a little bit. I'm going to be giving it a rest. I won't be breeding with it for a while. This one is a hybrid I made, I think, like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. So the mother plant is Papyri 5 Self, and then the pollen parent is Fortune Ralphinum. You will be seeing that Fortune Ralphinum soon. This one is a plant I love from Buzz Plants. So this one is Carla by Black Widow Michelle. And if you know his plants, which I'm sure you do, his Black Widow Michelle is like the ideal Black Widow Michelle. It is so stripy heavy. It's like basically stripy, but take away that like bluish grayish color and just make it black. And that's what it looks like. This one is Carla Cuna by Stripey X2. I got this from Paul at IES last year, 2024 IES. It started doing these speckles while I was away. I don't really know why. I think this is edema related. There's like something fungal going on. It just doesn't look like flat mite damage to me. And then this one is my Carla 1x16. I showed this recently. I love this Carla because it's so simple, but with bold venation. And I'll show you some of my other Carlas later, and you'll just see how different the venation is. It's just like a lot more intricate in other ones. This one's just so simple. And the color is really nice. I showed this one recently as well. This is my Pat Voldemort Self. And then this one is a plant that's not quite dead, but has died back. This is a plant I also got at IAS. This is Pap AF, which is possibly Regale by SP Napo by Carla PM6. I have another one. Wait, where did it go? I separated this plant into two for insurance because it wasn't growing very well. I'll have to look for it later. I don't know where it is. And then this one is a Diabloense prop. So this is a little offset I separated a while ago. It has rooted. Where are the roots? Here it is. Big fat juicy roots. The growth point hasn't done anything. When I separated it, it had a caterpillar that was nice and plump, but it did die back a little bit. It barely had any roots. It had like one root that was maybe 1.5 inches long. But since then it's rooted out. I'm pretty sure it will grow another leaf, but I won't sell it until it's done that. Just in case. I just want to be sure that it's definitely going to grow a new leaf. And then this one is Ace of Spades by Carla GPH. It's just pushed a leaf. This plant is really, really pretty, but I don't think this is the right light levels for it because you can see that it's searching for something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll put a BVEP here because it's quite dark. Or maybe I could put my Dressler right here so it can stay kind of out of the light, get darker. But this plant I think is wanting more light. Here's another Carla BVEP, a little bit of a smaller one. Okay, so this is my Midnight Velvet. It is looking absolutely awful. I think I know why. So it's in a version of tree fern soil that is denounced, too harsh of a word. I blended tree fern fiber with like perlite, pumice, whatever, with sea soil, which is mainly a soil I used outdoors, but I wanted to see if I could find a peat substitute. This didn't work well. I don't know exactly why the anthuriums mainly hated it. Some of them are pretty neutral, but over time it must be something to do with pH. But the reason why I haven't repotted it yet is because there are two offsets that have pushed leaves. So I'm waiting for these to root a little bit. Then I'm gonna take it all out, remove the offsets, and then repot this much deeper into the soil. It's going to be a little bit of a process, so I'm waiting. I know it looks horrible. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it has anything to do with watering habits, but mainly just to do with substrate. I've had this plant for like a year and a half, and I would say the whole time I've kept this a little bit swampier and a little bit more wet than other anthurium because I was told that's what it likes. So I usually try to keep a reservoir on it. So I think that a 50-50 tree from fiber DIY pond mix would be good enough for it in terms of like being able to keep it in a reservoir, but there's enough aeration to prevent root rot. So yeah, this is probably like the ugliest plant in my tent, but it also is like one of my favorite plants in my whole collection. It's just, my love for this plant is not reflected in its current state, but I do have a plan. Okay, over to this shelf. This is the Carla Wu One Self. That's the mother plant to all the Carla Beveps you'll be seeing today. It's flowered again. I'm not going to pollinate it, but I will be pollinating it maybe on its next flower with another plant you're going to see soon. I'll probably just collect the pollen. I am a little bit like scared to collect pollen on this because the last time I collected pollen on it, it pollinated itself. I'm 99% sure it selfed itself. So what happened with that uh, accidental cross is this plant, when it produces an inflow, so as we know, the anthurium inflow first goes through female phase, so it's receptive. It has these droplets of stigmatic fluid to help stick pollen to. And then it goes through male phase where it produces pollen, and then pollen comes out of the bottom part of the spadix first. And I'm sure this varies from Carla to Carla, but my plant, when it starts to be receptive, it's only receptive for a few days and it starts to produce pollen a lot quicker than other plants. So when I saw pollen starting here, there was another plant I needed to pollinate and I wasn't sure how much longer it would be receptive. So I quickly like pulled some pollen off with this motion. And then I noticed that this was showing signs of being fertilized. So like the spathe becomes green, the spadix also becomes green. It was starting to swell. So it was pollinated successfully, but I believe it was me pulling its own pollen out while this part of the spadix was still receptive because remember it had been receptive only for a couple of days. Anyways, you're gonna see those babies later. You tell me if you think they're full Carla or not. So anyway, this plant was cut back to a single leaf. Yeah, it was single leaf, and then it produced this leaf after being chopped back. It's in one of the biggest pots I have now. I think this is 10 inch. It's in Tree Fern Pond. This is a nice big leaf. I think it's reestablished enough to be a mother plant again. And then next to it is my contaminated Carla. So this one was originally sold as a pure Carla Blackier from NSC Tropicals, but that batch was contaminated with something, possibly a PAP or a PAP hybrid. And this is my specimen. So I got this from my friend Jose. So he had got it from Enid. Enid had offered these people that clearly didn't have a pure Carla refunds. But he decided it was pretty enough. He wanted to keep it, so he kept it. And then when he moved to Australia, he sold off his whole collection. So now I have it. I love this plant. This plant I have selfed, so I have little selflings of it. Pal and Josh have some, and we'll be selling some. So like there's some in Canada, there's some in the US. It has flowered again, so I do need to collect this pollen later. Put in my little, why isn't it focusing? After I finish filming, I need to collect the pollen off this and put it in my little Carson pollen organizer box, which by the way, if you don't have one and you do breed anthurium, I highly recommend it. I'll leave his link in the description. He 3D prints these pollen organizers. There's a couple sizes and he can customize. It's just such a great little thing. Like I used to have giant freezer bags in the freezer with like these little tinfoil pouches, and it's just so much nicer to have little vials all in this tiny little cute box. I love it so much. Now we're down to the bottom shelf. So this one is a BVEB I got from my friend Amanda, who got it from Paul, who got it from Rory. So this is basically a seedling that Rory bred, and then Paul had a bunch, and then he shared them with Amanda, who shared it with me. I've shared a cutting with Owen. I think Owen still has no, he doesn't have it anymore. He downsized a lot when he moved and he basically had to get rid of his tent. So I'm keeping this plant if he ever wants a piece back, but it's such a pretty one, but I just kind of suck at growing BVEP. I always get these orange halos. I keep it in the very back corner just to keep it a little bit farther away from light, but as you can see, it's not that far. Like the light's right here It's less than a foot away from the light, but the color is not bad, to be honest. I just think, let me see. Yeah, it's quite hydrated now. I'm not 100% sure how to keep BVEP pristine. This is a plant that has puzzled me for ages. I don't know what the heck is wrong with it. This is Pap Voldemort by Ralph Lauren himself. And every time it grows a new leaf, it forms fine, and then it starts to do this. Look at it. I've never had this with an plant where it will not hold on to. For some reason though, some of the original leaves have held on, but like the second newest leaf, this is the second newest leaf. This is the third newest leaf. They get just absolutely annihilated by whatever fungal thing this must be. I have no idea. Maybe I need to get it out and just like submerge it in an antifungal solution and then try to grow it back. I don't really know. I've inoculated it. I've changed it from the tree fern soil with the sea soil to tree fern pond. Actually, yeah, that's all I've tried. So I've just never come across this before. It will not hold on to new leaves. And when it was in Josh's possession, because I got this from Josh and Pau, they didn't have this problem. Like it grew to roughly like this size without having that problem. And then since it came to me, it's just nothing but melting. So yeah, this lives here. Here's another plant from IAS. This one is Carla Yard by Stripey Mag. It takes after the Stripey Mag quite a bit. It also has this like dusty mite damage, I think, looking stuff, which hopefully after the perethrin treatment from last time, maybe new leaves won't get it anymore. But that mite damage I was saying, it would only show up on leaves like way after it's fully hardened. So you know how like flat mites, they'll attack new leaves, and so you'll catch it quite quickly. But with this particular mite question mark, since it shows up way later, it's really hard to catch it when you see it. But the one time I did try to treat it was to use perethrin on every single plant, and I'm not even sure perethrin works on this particular mite. Another treatment I thought about is possibly Azamax because it has that oil component, and I do have Azamax, but with Azamax, it really does burn anthurium leaves under light, so it's a little bit more involved. I find that the perethrin doesn't tend to damage hardened leaves specifically. It will probably burn emergent leaves, but Azamax, when I used it on every plant and I didn't turn off the lights, hardened leaves, emergent leaves, they all got crispy. I am rambling again. Okay, next to it is my Port Carla. I showed this in last week's video and I did repot it, but I only repotted it up to 5-inch because I don't have space for a 6-inch. It's okay. It bought me a little bit of time, but it's so pretty. Like I was looking at this plant when I was editing the video and it kind of reminds me a little bit of like, it's got a little bit of like FTG crystal, but less thick venation, but it's got a little bit of like a Delta Force kind of vibe too. It's so fun. I really like it. And then back here is my Windy Dressleri, which got a little crispy. Let's feel the weight of the pot. Oh yeah, there's lots of water. And it just recently pushed this leaf, which is quite red. And then here is a Carla Pap by Carla Dress. This was produced by Phytorot Plant Co., Pau and Josh. It got thrips earlier this year, but it's bounced back quite well. It's just pushed a new leaf. And then over here is Carla Pap by Port Dorito. So this leaf is basically done expanding. There's some people who got lucky with specimens from this batch that got a flat sinus from the Port Dorito. Mine, unfortunately, is not a flat sinus, but it's really pretty. And this one is my Carla Wu 2 Self. So you see how different the venation is. This one is so bold, but very intricate. And the 1x16, really simple. This one also is the most, it has the most pink in the venation of the new leaves. This is pinker than my Wu One Self for sure, but we'll see with all the Carla seedlings I've acquired recently. Maybe one of them will be very pink. This one over here is Spider Ralphman, so it's Spider Best by Ralph Lauren and Port Sherman by Granthuriums, but I got this from my friend Amanda. It's a little bit of a slow growing one. It's a little bit finicky. Here's the newest leaf that melted off a little bit at the bottom for reasons unbeknownst to me. Is it working on a, yeah, it's working on a new leaf. I wanted to move it, but it's kind of the size where it's hard to find a space for it now. And maybe it's just like the Bessier Af in it that makes it difficult because I'm also not very good at growing Bessier Af. Here's my red crystallinum Dreamweaver by Necromancer. I showed this recently as well. Hopefully my phone camera is showing the color a little bit better. I would say it's doing a decent job of picking up that purpley red, but I grew this from a little chunk of stem with a single growth point off of a very unhappy plant. So I'm very relieved that it has turned into something. Here's my little blood moon cutting. Let's see if it has, oh, it's activated a growth point. It looks like there's an activated growth point down there. I don't know if you can see that slight pinky. And then here is another one. So it's just a waiting game before I get my first blood moon leaf. This is an ace of spades that I was rehabbing for Charmaine and then it crashed. I don't really know why. We'll take care of it. We'll see what's going on. It's not dead. It's but it's not alive for sure either. This is an offset of my Phil Carla, which, let's get rid of this. This little offset was growing pretty well in one of my domes, but then it just started to, it looked like it was bleaching. So I took it out and it just started to die back. But that little offset did start rooting, so I'm not really sure why, but the top growth point is definitely dead. I'm just waiting to see if something else activates down below. This is my most problematic Carla. This one's RA itself, and I think the top growth point, no, it looks like it's still alive. It looks like it's trying to push a new leaf. Yeah, it's not been an easy Carla for me, for sure. Like, it's nothing compared to this one, which was always a walk in the park. Bluetooth self, a little bit more difficult. This is a finicky guy. And here is my beautiful snake oil 2.0. This is from Burgle Flowering Farmstead, but I got this from Pao and Josh. She picked me the prettiest, like minty, all over minty specimen. I love it so much. I recently moved it out of a bin into the tent. I moved it out of a, was it in, no, it wasn't, it was in a 3-inch pot, but like one of the squat ones. I moved it into a 4-inch pot. So it's still in tree fern soil. There's a little bit of stratum in there from Pao and Josh's mix. This is RA5 by Swamp Bunny. I cut all the leaves off and I do need to repot it, but I don't have a spot for it because this plant gets really tall. The petioles are really long, but I've been holding on to it. Like, I'm not sure if I want so many paps. This is probably like just not one that I would keep, but I feel like it's kind of like one of the OG pap hybrids. Like, this one was RA5 by, so I think this was a collaboration between Amanda and Paul. So it was Amanda's RA5 with Paul Swamp Bunny. Don't quote me on that. I know Paul was involved. I'm just not sure if it was Amanda's RA5 as the mother plant. But as far as the paps go, I think I like my Pap RA5 self more, which is currently rehabbing as a chunk. Here's my Red Vein Dark Phoenix I got from Jorge last year. I had it in the sea soil, tree fern soil. It hated it. It declined. I put it in a dome, and I recently just, because it was growing these tiny little leaves, it kind of stopped growing. So I took it out and there was like massive stem rot on the original chunk. The new growth seems to be okay. There is a couple of roots on there. So I moved it to tree fern pond and I took off all the rot and hoping that it will bounce back. If you look right in the middle, there is an activated growth point. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it will resume growing, push out a leaf in here. I don't know if at this point it'll be better off in the dome or in here, but in the dome I tend to underwater. So I think maybe for keeping up with watering, it's better in the tent. And back here, it's so crowded. This is my Carla Lux, which I love so much. This is like the only Lux hybrid I think I'll ever need. I mean, never say never, but I don't think I'll be getting another one anytime soon. And it has started flowering. This is the plant I want to cross with Carla. So the next flower that the Woo One self puts out, I will be putting pollen from this inflow. I don't know why it's not focusing on the inflow. If I put my hand here, this will be receptive for a lot longer than the Carla. So be saving the pollen. Hopefully it produces pollen, freeze it. And then the next time Carla flowers, I'm going to get this one on it. And I want to make Carla by Carla Lux babies. And then here is my NSE Red Crystallinum. It's really pretty, but it's it's not an easy one. I want to say like the prettiest red crystalliums are always a little bit finicky. Maybe it's just my experience, but I do really love it and it does have really nice color. Okay, I'm gonna just do these ones first because it's in the way. This is a sad story. So this one is my crystal black, one of my favorite plants, and it kept dying back until it was a chonk. There was some stem rot. I potted it slightly. You can see there's a gap under here, slightly elevated because there's some active growth points down at the bottom, and it just kept dying and dying and dying. So it is fully dead now. You can see that the substrate's dry, but it's been fully dead longer than, like I was keeping on top of the watering. I wasn't letting it dry out and it just kept declining. So I'm 90% sure this is fully dried out, this chunk. It's like a very hollow feeling. Of course, I'll have to like take some scissors to it to cut back to see if there's any healthy tissue, but I'm pretty sure it's all dead. The growth points that were active are also dead. So this is quite a big loss for me. I love that plant so much. And it was my only like what I feel like is a crystallinum that had interesting traits, like a very webby venation. I don't know if this should make me feel better, but I also think of like greater plants that have been lost, like was it Necromancer that's gone or is it Dreamweaver? One of those two plants is gone forever, and also Carla RA5, aka the big fat spidery Carla, is also gone forever. So I don't know if it should make me feel better, but that does make me feel a little bit better. And then here is my Phil Carla, or what remains of it. I honestly don't know what happened to it. It was growing quite well. There was a little bit of a run-in with thrips, but nothing too crazy. And then the top just died. I don't really know why, but there is an active growth point. I don't know if you can see right here is pushing something. So I'm just gonna keep a close eye on it to make sure that it doesn't fully rot, like it doesn't go the way of this chonk. These are two Alocasia Pink Nobilis, but it is one of the varieties that's not quite as vibrant pink. I'm not really sure. I think this comes from either Thailand or Indonesia. Also, don't quote me on that, but this is more of like a creamy variegation. It's more creamy with a tint of orange. Like this is another one. It's a little pink. This one's a bit pinker actually, but there's also like green variegation on here. I'm just very, very pleasantly surprised. It's growing really well for me. I started these off in DIY pond mix with stratum, and then I recently, well, not by recently, I mean like a month ago, potted it up. So they were in little tiny parfait cups before, and now they're in their own little containers. This one is the bigger one of the two, so warranted a glass vessel. And then here is my only Bessier Af, which I just struggle to grow these plants. Like I don't really know what they want. I know they hate drying out, but other than that, it's all a mystery to me. I thought this one was quite cute because it's like really round and it's got these little lobes that curve in towards each other, but I've never grown this big, so I don't know what it's gonna look like, but the veins are a little bit thinner. It obviously varies from specimen to specimen, but I find that Bessier Af in my care, the 2 or 3 that I've ever had, hated ambient humidity. So that's all I know about it. They grow the best for me in 100% sealed humidity, which is not really feasible for all plants to grow long term. So I'm trying it out in the tent. It's just gonna be here. This one is quite exciting. This is a hybrid I did accidentally. So this one I think is a self of my Forgetii Silver. I also refer to it as my Rhino Skin Forgetii, which it's on the other shelf. I'll just show it to you now. It's this one here. So this, as all Forgetii do, they flowered really young. And then I noticed that one day one of the flowers just wasn't dying off, and then it was swelling and it just started producing berries. And either it was a bench hybrid, like an insect pollinated it, or it just selfed itself. I feel like it selfed itself, but this one I've kept for so long because I love that texture. It looks like rhino skin and it's really dark, and the venation is thin, but like quite high contrast against the black. So I only kept one offspring for myself, and it's been so small for so long. I'll just bring it out. It was growing in a bin for the longest time and it wasn't really sizing up, but it was always very elongated, like just a very funny and kind of wonky pattern. And it's always had this like wavy, kind of like unfinished looking margin. Like it never has a very smooth margin. You know what I mean? Like it's such an interesting one. But lately, it started to size up with this leaf. But I've never had a plant with such a messy margin that looks almost like a badly drawn Forgetii. and I love it. And it's been growing really well in that one spot. So it's right here. So in theory, this would be a decent spot because of its relation to the light. So it's not really far from light and it's good humidity and warmth, but it is really shaded by everything around it. So I usually have the alocasia here. So most of the plant is under shade, and somehow I was able to upsize a little bit. Mind you, it took forever and I thought it was kind of like a runty plant, but it did finally get to a relatively decent size. I did sell a bunch of them like a couple years ago. I didn't have a ton. So some of you might have some. I'd be curious what yours looks like, but this is very special to me because it just looks so messed up because it looks so wonky and long and the venation is so chalky and choppy. Okay, I just had to get a little break because I was filming on my phone and was running out of battery. I charged a little bit while I read my book, and now we have to go a little bit faster because we are running out of time. But we're now at this shelf, which is lit by a Soltec from above, and then each individual shelf has a Barina T5. This is my Carib Queen, which is Dressleri by Rugulosum, and I'm pretty sure this is edema damage from when I was away because everything got like a ton of water on the day before my flight, and some things just reacted badly to it. But honestly, I just kind of see that as the trade-off for going away on vacation. Not everything's going to get the ideal amount of water. You take some losses. And then here is Subsignatum by Papillamnum, which is a plant I think I want to sell, but it's such a helicopter. I'm not really sure what to do with it, so maybe I'll just snap a few pictures and then chop it down to a stump and restart it as a baby plant. This is a little pap hybrid, an unknown, like the tag was lost, so I'm not sure what hybrid this is. This is the top cutting, and I have like the little stumps in that stump bin I showed you earlier. This is a plant I also want to sell or give away. This one is one of my Dark Phoenix by, oh wait, I just realized I didn't show you my other one. The Dark Phoenix by King of Spades. Let me go back to the tent. I forgot about these plants that were behind my Carla. Here is my main keeper, Dark Phoenix by King of Spades. This one's quite round and it's quite a nice mix between Dark Phoenix, King of Spades. It has kind of like a spidery venation. And it's just popping a leaf now. And I forgot to show you my Fortune Ralphlina, which is back here. It's got a really nice, pleasant, like grayish blue tint, and it's just popped a leaf. It's only flowered for me once since that one flower that produced that hybrid, but I'm not really too fussed about it. Like, I want to make kind of pointy, wavy, pap type babies, but I'm not in a huge rush. Okay, back to the shelf. This is my original Wenlingeri. This was from Singapore, but I don't know what original Wenlingeri was, but this one is very, very thick, like super rigid, very waxy. The leaves are on the shorter side, and it is a curly inflow Wenli. This is a pap from my friend Justin. It's a, I think, Ralph Lynam Fort Sherman hybrid, but I don't have the tag. I'm gonna have to ask him what it is. Some of these plants are not doing so well. This one is a Red Crystal by King of Spades. This one is from Ardian Plant. I think it was bred by Haji Uli. This one's not doing so well, but I got it at the same time as I got this one, which is doing a little bit better, but also I got some edema damage when I was away. Here is Red Crystal Port by King of Spades. Is the only one I have left from this batch. This batch only produced like 6 viable plants, and I've sold one. I think there's might be one in a dome somewhere, but this is the only one I'm like actively keeping, and it's growing really well, but also a little bit of edema damage. I probably should repot it soon, but it's not hugely urgent to me. This is Ace of Perps by Pat. This is a hybrid done by Tyler of Russo Plants, but this one I got from my friend Amanda. It's quite pretty. It's quite bolate. It's really dark. It actually is quite a bit darker than it's showing up on camera. This is a crystallinum I got from my friend Amanda as well, but it got thrips. I do think it's thrip free now, but it also grows really slow for me. Oh, there's a new leaf coming. Back there is a Warqueanum, which I think is dead. I need to get rid of that pot. And then this is Charmaine's King of Spades that she gave up on. She gave it to me. This is a growth point, an auxiliary growth point. There's another active growth point elsewhere on the plant. I forget where, but this eventually will be separated from the pot. And then down here is that Rhino Skin Forgetii. This is Dark Phoenix by Ralph Lynam Fort Sherman, the top cutting to those props you saw earlier. This is my weirdo Clarinervium that me and Charmaine got at the garden center. Well, I found it, she bought it, she gave me a cutting, and I quite like it. There's a little bit of flat mite damage on it, so I do need to treat everything out in Ambient with that same Prethrin method that I did on my tent. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So I've just been like spraying like this, but I haven't gone through and wiped every single plant down. My Alocasia scalprum is on its way to its annual winter decline. So every winter it starts to flower like crazy and stops producing leaves. These are all the leaves that grew this summer. It's quite small, and there's 2 or 3 plants in there now from activated corms. This one is Dock Block Michelle, one of the Home Depot Michelles. This leaf did not form very well. Yeah, it hasn't been great for me in Ambient, but I don't have space for it in the tent, so we'll just kind of try to grow it out here. I think I'm gonna just like build up the substrate a little bit more, maybe inoculate it again with Great White. Here is my Ace of Spades. It has yet to push another leaf after this one that got munched coming out. It's ducking a little bit away from the light. I think the Soltec is a little bit bright for it, but there's not much I can do. It's flowered again. Let's see, is this growth point? Not quite pushing a leaf yet. This is a mag hybrid from Amanda. This is one of hers. Trying to remember, I think the mag originally came from Annecy Tropicals and then she selfed it, but it's quite a pretty one. This leaf is not showing its full beauty, but I'll just put another photo here of what it used to look like. It's really pretty. It's like very spidery looking mag hybrid. I say mag hybrid because the petiole is not fully squared, but it is squared. Here's my Diabloense. It's an absolute jungle. This is a single plant. This is the one that I removed the offset from. I've been trying to self it so it flowers constantly, but the flowers take forever. So I'm pretty sure if you were to successfully pollinate it, it would take like a year plus, like Clarinervium. But I haven't had a perfect leaf form in quite a while because whenever it grows a new leaf, let's see, this one seems undamaged. It has to grow through this like whole canopy of leaves, so oftentimes they will get ripped up coming through that dense jungle. But this is such a easygoing plant, and if you can get your hands on Diabloense, I highly recommend it. It's just like a nice silvery, very leathery, but that shape is just like unparalleled. I love this plant so much. And then here's a bunch of seedlings. I have Contaminated Carla Self, Contaminated Carla Self. I'll show you these ones. You can see that they have these like lightning veins. That is like quite chlorotic. I do need to put some CalMag in here, but I'm out of CalMag, so I'm just waiting to go to the store because I'm seeing that like the Amazon prices are just way too high, so I just need to go to the hydroponic store and get some CalMag. I also feel like if I were to pot them up individually, this might cure the issue because I don't think the individually potted ones have this so badly. And I'll just show you this bin here. These are the F2s of that Fortune and Ralphinum Dress Carla. I potted these up individually right before I left to Taiwan, so this is like a month ago-ish, just over a month ago. And this is by far the biggest one. I sent, well, I sold off I think 5 of them the last restock, and I pulled the biggest ones, and of the ones I had left, this one like outpaced the others by far. It has a very red midrib. Here's another one of the bigger ones, the very red midrib. This is not variegation. This is edema damage, but overall I'm very pleased at the size, which kind of just proves that that mother plant is a good mother plant that can produce healthy babies. I feel like the average size is somewhere around this. Let's just get this bin out of the way. These are just it's a little bit of a mixture. So this one is a keeper of my Carla Bevep. So the earlier ones you saw were mostly smaller. This one I love for the venation, but also because it's so dark and the emergent leaves are quite vibrant. This one is a cross by Pal and Josh. This is Cero Pap by Carla, crossed by Carla. It definitely has a Carla venation, and it jumped up quite a bit in size from the last leaf here to this one here. And then this one also came to me as a sprout, but this one is, let's say Ace Bevep by Pap Voldemort. So this is the newest leaf, and then the last one before that was this one. So it's also sizing up quite well. This leaf is wonky because it was growing in a bin that was too short, so it was growing into the lid. And then these two are Charmaine's Carla Bevep by Forgetty Eye Carla. So there's one here, and then one here. Oops, probably should remove these leaves. And then in this box is mainly what I believe to be the S2s of the Carla one, the one I was talking about earlier that I possibly accidentally selfed. So if you look at this one's the biggest one. It really does look like Carla to me, and the petiole very squared. So I guess like you can't really know for sure until it flowers, but I've been holding on to these just to see what they look like a little bit more mature. And that's definitely the biggest one that I just showed you. This one has like some weird kind of speckling going on. Like this speckle here in particular is sparkling silver, so it's not just edema or like pest damage. And I'm just holding on to them. I do think I need to give these a hit of CalMag as well because they're looking a little green. I think they can be a little bit darker. And then these are a few of Carla BVEP by Carla, so the inverse of the Carla BVEPs. I only got like 6 plants out of that batch, so there's not very many. I've been holding on to them here. And then in here, more Carla BVEPs. This one is really pretty. I love the venation on this one. And it's really puffy. This leaf is very bullied. But this one probably could be upsized soon. I really like this one. The venation is really simple. Very little secondary venation. And then this is my one keeper. Oh, it's dripping. This is Dark Phoenix by Paparia 5 Self. The last leaf was really pretty. And then this leaf did get scrunched, and I think it dried out a little bit while I was away. Another Carla BVEP is one of the bigger ones. I was holding it back, but I'm not like opposed to letting go of it. And then here's another Dark Phoenix by King of Spades, one of the smaller ones. Surprise, more Carla BVEPs. This is one that didn't sell last time we had a restock, so I just put it back in here. I think I potted it up after the fact. Here's another one that's quite dark. And the venation is really nice, very Carla heavy. And these are a few that were getting scrunched in the previous box I showed you. So they were growing into each other. So I just moved them in here yesterday to give them a bit more room. And then here is a bunch of seedlings from friends, or also some Carla BVEPs. This is a Carla from my friend Justin. BVEPs from Pau and Josh. There's one. Here's another. They're growing really well. These were just sprouts when I got them. Here's another Carla from the same Carla batch from Justin. This one is a really fun one. This one is FTG Self by Carla Soul Reaper. And mine is getting really nice wide sinus, kind of wavy on the margins. The venation's coming out a little bit more on this leaf. So I will be sizing it up soon. This actually needs a little bit of water. It's not totally dried out, but yeah, this is getting a little bit too tall for this box now. This one is a Carla BVEP by Carla. One of mine, and looks like it's dead, but I potted it up just in case. It wasn't doing very well, but I thought maybe just pot it up, but it's dead. And then this one, unfortunately, this happened while I was away. Carla T1 by Carla PM1 from Pau and Josh. It's not totally dead. Actually, there's an active secondary growth point, so I think it will come back. This is a Bessier F by No ID. I got this from Charmaine recently. I didn't know this was coming to me, but this is from Natasha, aka Planted in Platinum. Thank you, Natasha, for this, by the way. And then this is a Luxuriance by Fort Sherman Self, also from Natasha. I actually think that this one might be either from Natasha or Nick at NXT Plants, or a collaboration between the two of them. I'm actually leaning towards it being a collaboration. This is the Little Wendlinger Anton Valley from Owen. And then this one, oh, this is my hybrid, Carla BVEP. A little bit smaller. Oh, let's just do this EXO while we're here. This is an EXO I don't plan on keeping forever, but it's kind of useful right now because it provides humidity, and it's also somewhere for my Dark Phoenix to sit because it's in such a heavy glass vessel with so much pond that I'm reluctant to put it on one of these shelves because I don't want the whole system to come crashing down. I don't think it will, but I just don't want to take that risk. So right now this EXO is serving a purpose, just not, doing it fantastically because this looks quite messy, as you can see. This is Alocasia tanderusa from my friend Dania. I got it as a corm and now it's so big, but I'm also thinking that if I bring it out, it's gonna get spider mites immediately. And this is a Frydek that came off of a white Frydek, white variegated Frydek, and then it just has been green on green ever since the beginning. And it was always growing under bright light when it was propped next to other cormlings that grew white on green variegation, but this one just persisted as green on green. So I'm pretty sure that's just what it is. It's not a lighting related thing. And then even in lower light, bright light, it's all the same, always the same kind of variegation. The back there is a BVEP. This one's one by Grant. It hasn't been doing well for me, but I did cut it back and it's produced a wonky leaf. Yeah, I'm keeping it there. It's not very bright light. It's only got a 5 watt Barina here, one of the shorty black ones. This is the Ace of Spades green form that I put it in here because I wanted it out of the tent. I'm going to repot it and try to grow a nice leaf and then probably let go of it then. This is a Tofu Eye. Probably going to sell that. And just some other stumps. Stumps of plants that aren't doing well. And this one is a Bevet by Jorge. I moved it in here just to shade it from light, just to see if it will get blacker. But it's at that age where it's got some red in the emerging leaves, which is quite nice. And like I said, on top of it is my original Dark Phoenix. A bit of edema. I do plan on repotting it out of no drainage into, like, keeping it in pond, but into a drainage pot. Now that I have those giant pots from Jing, like this one, there's a bigger one than this. There's an even bigger one than this one as well. Now that I have those, I just need to line it with landscape fabric and then repot this plant. But it hasn't pushed a leaf in quite a while. There's been a little bit of crisping. This kind of crisping rarely happened in the tent, but I guess that's just the reality when you're growing Anthurium and Ambient. And then next to it is my Queen of Hearts, the one that I cut up for my friend, but it has not pushed a leaf in the longest time. I do think it's moving. Yeah, it is doing something. It's changing shape, this caterpillar, but this leaf is now on its way out, which, yeah, it kind of sucks. I know it'll grow better in my tent, so maybe if I were to move out some alocasia, this probably could fit in there. So that's an option. And then back to this Red Crystal King of Spades. It's been flowering a lot. I was thinking of maybe selfing it. So maybe like on the next inflow, I collect the pollen from this one and self it. Here's another Red Crystal by King of Spades, but very King of Spades heavy. This is done by Dania. And then in the middle is Mag Kuna. I believe this was done by Paul, but I also got this from my friend Amanda. Just popped a leaf, but this has been doing surprisingly well in Ambient, like not a lot of ripping. And then here is my original King of Spades, which got eaten by thrips. It's very slow. Oh, it's flowering, but the caterpillar is not active. Another Dark Phoenix by King of Spades, which got a lot of flat mite damage, so I'm gonna be treating it, but this is not what I'm gonna keep. This is a Red Crystal Cell from Dania, which is very pink, like the pinkest one I own. I recently repotted it into 5-inch, so hopefully it'll start sizing up a bit more. This is Queen Claire Nervium from Dania. This is originally from Cartel Down. It's awesome. I love this plant so much. It just popped a leaf, which unfortunately will be facing that way. So I'll have to be rotating it. I was hoping it was going to be facing this way. It might still turn around and be in the same spot as this leaf, but this leaf was such a nice upsize from the one before, which was this one, getting a little bit more pronounced. The shape is getting a little bit more exaggerated. And then this is Mr. Worldwide. I got this from Matt, aka Cataphil. His is such a strong specimen. It's not so much of a flat sinus one, but it's really strong. And it's flowered a bunch of times. I do think this will be a fun one to breed with like Midnight Velvet or something. This is Wendlinger Western Panama from Rory that I got from Owen. He was so kind to give this to me. It hasn't grown for me, but I don't know. It's not declining either. This is Red Crystal Carla. It put out a leaf while I was away, which shriveled, which I'm sure has something to do with being too swampy. So you win some, you lose some. It's not doing great right now. It was doing so well before I left. It's been declining ever since. It probably has root rot. And then this is a little King of Spades, like probably selfling. There's a little bit of flat mite damage on it. And it's been not growing great for me. It's like it's kind of bleaching a little bit. I don't know. The Soltex are quite strong. They're angled towards the shelf, but it's strongest on this layer. But they're also like they're dimmable, so I've turned it down to like 60% because some plants were getting bleached, like specifically here down is where the light is most concentrated on this plant. And then here's my Dark Forgetii, one of them. The one, actually it's my favorite Dark Forgetii I've ever owned. It's very bumpy. It definitely grows better in high humidity, but we're trying it out in Ambient. It's growing. Bit of flat mite damage on it. Then here's my Minahasa, which has gotten underwatered. Here's the newest leaf. A little bit of crisp. The pot is a little bit too small. It's not like urgently too small, but it could use a size up. I just wasn't super motivated to do that. We're just gonna let it hang out and try not to let it dry out. This is Espinova Costa Rica, which is originally from Rory, but I got it from Owen, and it has been doing so poorly for me. It never did well in Ambient. I probably need to get it out of here. I don't know what the roots are doing, but yeah, I'm just gonna leave it down here so I can repot it later. This is Woohoo's First Night, a little bit bleached. Back there is a FTG open pollinated Carla. Clearly very neglected. And then this one is Ralph Lauren Fort Sherman by RA5 Swamp Bunny. This is a hybrid done by Owen, which I let dry out a little bit. It has pupped. The pup is actually doing a lot better than the main plant. It's not currently dry, it's just I let it dry out at one point. And then this one is Novelty G Ace of Spades, so like a not Ace of Spades, but was sold by Novelty G growers as Ace of Spades, and it's just popped a new leaf. This is Forgetty Eye by Carla Amanda. It's currently flowering. This is Crystal by Carla from the Homebody. I think this was done by Phil from Stillmar Gardens. And then this is my Mag Chris by Carla. I moved it out of the tent. Let's see. It's not currently pushing a leaf. So it's been a one leafer ever since I moved out of the tent. I think it is bleaching a little bit at the tip. And this is my Wenlingeri that I got from Pau and Josh, where they sent it to us. It's been growing really well, but it does need a repot. It's always drying out, but it's starting to flower. Okay, it doesn't really need water. It's nice and hydrated right now. But yeah, it's flowering size now. And the last inflow didn't, it curved a little bit, but it didn't do the full spiral like this one. But maybe on the next one. And that is the end of the tour. And I actually managed to do this all without getting super hungry, but I am starting to get a little bit hungry now. It's actually been a little while since I've gone through and looked at every single plant because I mainly just get to my tent plants on a weekly basis and my shelf plants, but not really like the props and like not so much up close on these ones. So it was a nice time to kind of like take stock of the state of my plant collection, which as you saw, you know, there's some wins and losses. The worst ones are definitely on the Ambient shelf. But as I look back on this year and how this plant room has changed, how my collection has changed, like there's been some downsizing. I made this shelf system, or like I installed this shelf system, which if you want to see how it was done, I'll leave a link to this video in the description. And as I also think about like my channel and like how many plants am I actually keeping just to make content with, I kind of fluctuate between the motivation to be really ruthless and just get rid of plants, like just get them out of my life and not try to like save them or like coddle them back to health. I fluctuate between that and when I look at a plant, a particular plant I'm wanting to purge for long enough, I convince myself to keep it. So needless to say, the downsizing has been a very long and drawn out process and I don't see it ending anytime soon, but I've been thinking a lot lately. I think this year has been the most introspective year of my life and I'm just trying to get to know myself a little bit better, and a big part of myself is myself as a plant grower. I've been listening to a lot of interviews and listening to people talk about research done by people dedicated to happiness research, and this has really expanded my thinking on how I view my day-to-day, because one thing they talk about is like happiness is most affected by the small building blocks of your day, and happiness as it pertains to reaching goals is not really about reaching the goal, it's about the progress made towards that goal. So once a goal is actually reached, it's like that happiness is very short-lived, and it's much overshadowed by all the little joys in between in your way towards that goal. And they also talk about a very important ingredient in happy life is the ability to like get into what they call a state of flow, which is when you're just lost in a task or like a project or something, lost in some work that is very aligned to your level of ability. So if you have that very constantly in your work, that's ideal in being happy in your work, that you get into this like very zen, zoned in, focused flow that you're just like, you lose all track of time and you're just focused on that thing that's super aligned with your skill level. I wouldn't necessarily say I have that in my work, my job, but I definitely have it in plant care. And so I think about it as if I were to have a pristine collection where everything is perfect, there's no crisping, everything is healthy, would that really make me happier with my collection? Or is it really like the having very defined, kind of like my work is cut out for me? When I look at a plant, I see kind of what's wrong with it and the work that it would take to nurse it back to health. Is that more important in my journey as a collector slash grower. Also adding into this that I'm growing a lot of anthurium, which is really hard to keep them looking pristine at all times. So I'm kind of just changing my way of thinking, and I'm thinking about it more as giving myself grace when I don't get to things and things start to suffer a little bit and show signs of damage. And also just feeling grateful that I actually have an outlet to get into a flow state of work. The analogy that was brought up by this researcher that I was listening to was like, people often will say, when I own a house, I will be happy. But the reality is that homeowners are not necessarily happier than renters for a multitude of reasons. So I kind of drew the comparison to, if I were to have a pristine plant collection, which would obviously be easier to attain with far fewer plants, I would be happier. But then I've never had that before, so I don't know if I definitely will be happier. So I'm going to let go of that notion, still work towards a quantity of plants that would be easier to manage, but let go of the notion that I will be happy with my collection if such and such conditions were met, and just be grateful that I have this outlet and a goal to work towards. And those small satisfactions in between will be what fuels and continues to fuel my love for the hobby. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a small shift in thinking. It doesn't really change much in terms of how it's implemented. It's just, I'm just adjusting my attitude towards it. So that brings us to the end of this year's plant tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I did promise a longer video, so hopefully this fulfills the criteria. I hope you guys have been having a lovely day so far. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!